Okay, let's give it a couple more minutes so that people in the community can head over to the stage. While we're waiting for more people, can you tell us more about your Thanksgiving, Aaron?
Couldn't find the unmute button. Thanks for asking, Sparkly. It was fantastic. Generally pretty chill and laid back. Though we did have 2 full days of driving to get to Santa Fe, New Mexico, where my family lives. So that's always fun.
Yikes.
But you drive through a beautiful part of America, so
Aw.
also one of our newest hires, an old friend of mine from Human API, just walked in the office. He
Ooh.
has not seen me hiding here in this conference room. I'm going to take a minute to go and say hi
Yeah,
while
go
people
ahead.
filter. I will be back, Sparkly.
Sure, sure. So it looks like we don't have a lot of questions right now. If you want to ask a question, you can head over to the Townhall Bulletin channel and click on the latest thread, the one that says Crypto Unicorns Townhall 25, and ask your question over there. We'll be keeping a lookout for it. Okay, Kaiser saying, make sure the recording is all set. Yeah, this time I will not forget. Okay. Alright, this should be a good time to start. Good evening and good morning, Unicorn fam. Welcome to the Crypto Unicorns Weekly Town Hall number 25 with Aron Beierschmitt, Crypto Unicorn CEO and co-founder. But he's gonna be a bit quiet for today. I think we had way too much fun in the Christmas party. But yes, I will be here though. This is our first town hall for December. We're really excited to hear what you guys have to say, especially since we skipped the last town hall for Thanksgiving. We hope you guys had a great time too. We have got Aron here, ready to spill the tea and spread the hype with Aron's updates. Good morning, Aron. How are you doing?
Good evening, Sparkly. I'm doing fantastic. Thank you, as always, for the wonderful intro, and a huge shout out to the Throwing Shade Twitch streams. They are super fun to watch. Let's start there. I've just got a couple of data insights, and then I'll dive into any questions that people may have. Smaller town hall today, so maybe we can get a little more intimate and in the weeds. As a starting point, we've had over 500 addresses and just under 1,500 shadow corns, so just slightly under literally 1,495 of 3,000 entered the Dark Forest for the first in the series of Throwing Shade events. It looks like after today's door, there's going to be roughly 30 shadow corns left.
36.
36. Look at that. My data's out of date. Over the past week, we've had over 400 quests per day completed. 59% were RBW focused quests, with 21% being fall event focused quests. One thing that we continue to see that I think is a really great metric is we're seeing RBW staking increase to over 475,000 since that launch, and staking continues to reach all-time highs. So that's a really fantastic metric. It does show me that sourcing RBW out to active and engaged players leads many to choose to stake, which is was kind of a test with the shift in rewards, and it's a really wonderful thing to see. It's something we will likely continue to double down on. And of course, that only gets increasingly more aligned with active and engaged players and community members when Staking V2 launches. After that proposal passed, it is now fully in and undergoing several audits, which we'll publish prior to the launch of Staking V2, as this will house an enormous chunk of our RBW. We want to make sure that this contract is very much secure and ready to be the vault for all of our collective RBW. Fantastic. That's kind of a short set of updates for me today, Sparkly. Let's get to questions.
All right, thank you so much. So let's get this town hall started. We have a 3 questions per person rule. If a question has been answered previously, you'll have to ask something else. Any questions related specifically to your account or a Zendesk issue, please reach out to us on the mod support channel so the CM team can take care of that for you. We won't be entertaining any ticket related questions here because, number one, we cannot directly address your situation because of privacy concerns. And number two, we want to make sure that all the questions asked in every town hall has the kinds of questions that only Aaron can answer, like things about the economy or about the future of the game. To ask a question on voice, please press the request to speak button. The button looks like a raised hand. You can queue up at any time. Once we accept your request, you'll see a green bar at the top of your Discord. Click accept to begin speaking. We also have written questions. It's on the Town Hall Bulletin Forum channel, on the Town Hall 25 thread. Take note that we prioritize spoken questions over written ones. You can also head on stage and ask any question that you may find on that thread. Yeah, we do have a bit of an echo going on right now, and yeah, it just be like that sometimes. I think, let's see. There we go. King, we almost lost you.
Yeah, that was very strange. Just got a forced refresh on Discord.
Yeah,
But I'm here. I'm here.
Nice. We stand a reliable king. So yeah, you can also.
Maybe we can talk about the fact that we won game of the year.
Oh
yesterday.
hell yeah!
Pretty sweet. I think we beat out Steppen and Axie and a few others. So huge win right there.
Big
Shout
win.
Out to the community. Shout out to the team. The only Katrina was there in person to accept the reward. Looked like a lot of fun. I'm a bit jealous.
We'll be releasing pictures for that later on once we get. Yeah, we just want to get better photos, and then we'll be sharing it with the community on Twitter. Okay, so first up, so y'all aren't asking anonymous questions. I guess that means you guys want to hop up on stage and ask us a question. So we also have a couple written questions, but not a lot right now. So if you'd like to ask a question, just hop on over to the request to speak. Please press that button so we can get that answered for you. But for now, let's get this from Nebbiolo. Hey, can we expect in the future more details of the lands available for OS or Haku? I'm talking about buildings, building types, and levels. Also, farm bonuses, since those can make a big difference in land value.
We have been talking about exposing that additional data. It is definitely something that we want to do. I also think it would be really nice to add a level badge or stamp to the corner of every land NFT kind of image, which of course would get updated on Airlock out. That requires us to upload additional images to Arweave and then obviously run the QA and things against that. But it is something that we have discussed. And yeah, I'm generally in favor of exposing as much data as possible to these marketplaces. Obviously, OpenSea is not going to do anything with it, as we've kind of seen. So, partners like Haku and potentially others over time, we would love to expose that kind of data so that people can make more informed choices. I think that's pretty important for sure. I do hope, too, at some point, we kind of hit a point where standards are developed that make it a lot easier for marketplaces generally to ingest rich and ever-changing NFT data, which I think will become very much standardized across all gaming assets. So yeah, I think it's definitely something that we have discussed internally, but we effectively would need a marketplace partner to expose that data. And obviously I know Charlie at Haku, and we have several others at this point that we're talking to as well. So I do think it's very likely that we'll see something in the new year around that.
Exciting. Okay. Oh, and now we get an anonymous question. All right. So somebody is asking, "Hey Aaron, you said Mythic and Rare Lands will have more utility with quests. They currently do not. When will they have utility?"
I don't think that whoever said that heard me correctly. Mythic unicorns will have more utility, not necessarily mythic land. So I think you're misconstruing mythic land versus mythic unicorns. We obviously have quests that require and are exclusive to mythic unicorns. That is the additional utility that I was speaking about.
All right. So if you have any follow-up questions, just fill up the form or send me a DM and I will get that asked for you. Next, we have another written question from Jackinch. Have the recent marketing attempts translated in numbers? What are your thoughts on the current daily average users, and what are your expectations for the next 3 months?
Generally, I do not think the marketing efforts that have been attempted have succeeded. I think the Coinbase wallet promo largely did not succeed. I think we got a lot of great kind of community building at the Web3 festival, and obviously from all the photos and stuff, I'm super, super jealous. I was out in Helsinki freezing my butt off. So it looked like an enormous amount of fun. We have definitely seen some new DAO as a result of that, but it continues to tell me that we have to focus more and more on the direct to consumer or direct to wallet efforts that I've been speaking about for quite some time. I was asked in the previous AMA if we were slightly delaying that this month, given kind of just the FTX madness and just the general market kind of sentiment. And I'd said yes, and that we were shifting it to early December. That plan is still in place. We've almost completed the cohort analysis to identify all of the target wallets for the first campaign in the Great Corn Drop. In addition to that, we're getting a kind of airdrop specific site or landing page so that people can come to claim their bundles. And then there will be an onboarding program associated with the Great Corn Drop. So, I'm very, very excited to kind of kick that off. It will be tied with awareness campaigns. We're trying to do shared Twitter spaces with some of the projects. One thing we're running into, and I think it's very clear, is that, everyone only has a finite amount of attention, and at the end of the day, every game is inherently competitive with one another. I think as much as we can talk about interoperability and the idea of trying to share and merge different communities together, at a certain point you have to kind of make a choice. And so there have been groups that we've approached, like Sunflower Land has largely just ignored us, and I think they view us as obviously very competitive with them, or they're just busy and not checking DMs and emails, right? Who knows? TLDR, the Great Corn Drop starts early December. We're going to launch that initial campaign targeting very specific wallets on Polygon, and then we have a phase 2 and a phase 3 of that campaign, which will extend towards ETH mainnet, and then I'm very interested in taking a shot on the Ronin front, particularly as we have land gameplay that is active and engaging and actually exists. And so that is kind of the focal point. And coming back to the question, that's what we've learned is I don't think general awareness or having booths and things is really going to drive DAO. We have to treat it much closer to performance marketing in like we used to do in mobile free-to-play, and really, really focus on trying a bunch of different channels, which in this case are targeting wallets that play similar kind of competitive games that, clearly aren't bots, clearly aren't flippers, are loyal and kind of engaged players, and we need to see what the conversion rate of that is. During the last town hall, we've also mentioned opening up a program by which existing community members can effectively, how do I put this, recommend another player for to receive a starter bundle. And the idea here is, you're chatting with somebody on Twitter and you say, hey, I'd love for you to try this game out, drop your wallet address. You hand that wallet address to us and they get a badge to come and claim a bundle, right? So we're finalizing that system. I hope to have it ready as we launch the Great Corn Drop, and it becomes this kind of thing in which we can recommend, existing community members can recommend new players. Anyone caught multi-accounting, abusing that system, I'm going to ban immediately because I'm just over any form of kind of blatant exploitation. But I think it is well worth a try, even with the risk that some people abuse the system. I have a pretty high trust with a lot of our senior and loyal community members. So I think it's worth using that as a way where existing players can not only evangelize the game, but give one of these invites out to claim a free starter bundle, to a friend. And so I'm anxious to get these things live. The nice thing is we'll have a ton of flexibility once the system is in place. All the contracts for competitive titles that we've indexed, it's not like it's a one-time pull. We have APIs via the wonderful Moonstream team where we can pull up to the minute data to always see who's active, who's engaged, who's new, who's super loyal, who's very high LTV, all of that kind of stuff. So that's really where we're at. I kind of look at 2022 as the year that we positioned ourselves for 2023. I think with everything in the pipeline, whether it's jousting, the second party games, Q1, Q2 are going to be pretty amazing times to be a part of the Crypto Unicorns community. And we'll have a lot of different beats. Even if you're someone that doesn't enjoy farming, fine, here's jousting, right? Here's Unicorn Party, here's Rainbow Rumble. And so just generally, I'm pretty excited by the road ahead and the opportunities to kind of market, not just to, players of kind of competitive land gameplay games, but players across, all the racing games, right, which jousting I think will be very competitive with. So it's going to give us a lot of opportunity and a lot of kind of shots on goal. I'll be transparent though. I will start to internally panic if we do not see DAO growth off the back of the great corn drop. It's very important to look at two things: new DAO coming in, so players who are brand new, who've received these bundles and are coming in and playing. And then we're going to have to look very, very closely at the retention of those players relative to organics. If that retention is pretty close, I'm going to feel really good, and we're going to double and triple down on the great corn drop. If that retention is lower, I mean, we should expect it to be lower than organics. That's very, very typical, so I'm not going to panic if it's necessarily lower. But if it's drastically lower, then I'm going to know, okay, it's looking much, much harder to acquire people in the system. Again, the benefit of things like jousting is you only need one corn to play, so we have kind of less that we need to purchase to create that initial starter bundle for a player that wants to come in and start trying jousting, for example. And so again, it will give us another shot on goal with respect to beginning to kind of grow and build the audience. My internal target is to 10x DAO by the end of Q1. And from there, look to 3 to 5 exit in the next quarter. And if you look at competitive titles, you look at where Pegaxi got to in Zed Run, and even counting a bear market, I think that's pretty achievable when we're sitting on just under 1,500 DAO, under 3K MAU, right? Like, these are still very small numbers. It's an incredibly loyal cohort of people who've been highly retentive, highly engaged, very high LTV. So we have like all of the best possible metrics right now. Still kind of blows away any investor that I talk to. But the sole focus that we should all really embody is how do we begin to grow. We are not seeing new tickets and issues come in, right? We are not seeing people stuck with accounts for long times. All of those issues are gone at this point. And so I am looking for growth. I care about really nothing else right now. And it's essential that we pivot and begin to push on this. So anyone that has ideas around targeting specific interested individuals with these starter bundles, I'm all ears. We have a system that will be ready when the Great Corn Drop launches to add those people into the queue and allow them to come and claim a bundle and start to play, drastically reducing the friction of getting into the farm sim. And then, of course, with the launch of jousting, we've got another phenomenal opportunity to begin to grow, because you only need one corn to joust, right? So we can target a lot more players, send out a lot more invites. And, my expectation is we really start to spin up an economy here. Given how well it's been balanced and maintained to date, we've very clearly proven that we have enough sinks in place that players are actually willing to spend on, to keep things balanced. And that in and of itself is one of the biggest success stories of what we've achieved this year. And it really primes us for growth in 2023. So I'd love to, answer more questions on that, or have somebody come up and we can kind of have a dialogue on it. But that's kind of the TLDR on the plans. And the end result is the first goal is 10x DAO, and then 3 to 5 exit from there, which I think and believe is achievable on Polygon. At that point, I do think growth will be tougher, because we'll be dragging people from ETH mainnet up and potentially other EVM chains and side chains. And so that friction, there remains a pretty strong question as to whether or not we're going to be able to overcome that hump. But if you look at what we've achieved with a few thousand players, right, and you imagine where it would be at 10x the scale, and then, a total of kind of 30 to 50x, right, with the 3 to 5x on top of 10, like it really gets, I think, very compelling. It will also put us as, I believe very much the top project in the space. So anyway, my message to the community is we've flown under the radar long enough. It is really time to begin to grow.
Love it. Standing hard. By the way, the first part of the Great Corn Drop, which is the Golden Cohort campaign, is live, and you can check out the details on our community updates channel. Just scroll up a little bit, and then you'll see it. Also, we need your help to get in touch with those who have the Golden Cohort role. So, I've included a little video there that shows you how you can reach out to your friends who might have that golden cohort role and tell them that they should log in and check the prizes that they got from us. So they'll also be able to fill up a form, like a referral form, and include your Discord handle so you get a sweet reward right back. And a quick note for anyone even beginning to think about multi-accounting. The CMs had so much fun banning multi-accounters during the Founders Program, and we're pretty excited to do that again if y'all really want to have a go. So yeah, we're ready. We have another question from Bahis. Could we talk about the larger economic model of CU? Currently, I think all players are here to ultimately extract more than what they put in. I assume the other loops will be what props up the economy. And what are the thoughts around Web3 gamer slash investors versus traditional gamers, like F2P gamers versus paying gamers?
It's always a really good question, and I feel like I've gotten asked it a bunch. And the answer always is the same with additional caveats as we've kind of learned more and more about the space. Um, our approach from the beginning has always been from a game developer coming out of free-to-play mobile. Mobile gaming being the largest and highest revenue segment of the entire games industry by a very significant margin at this point. And mobile games are kind of strange in that they're really they monetize impatience, right? Like, I am stuck on a Candy Crush level, and if I buy this damn hammer, it's going to help me get to the next level. And one of the things that's really kind of interesting about free-to-play monetization is in most of the genres, after you spend, you have an initial moment of you feel good, and then you don't feel great about that purchase because it very quickly gets diminished in value. It's either something that was consumable that you utilized, or it's set out on a power curve where it maybe you bought a bunch of gems in AFK Arena and you spent those to upgrade a hero, and that hero helped you get 5 more levels, and then you hit another gate or a squeeze, right? And so when I shut down my first gaming company, I had been pretty jaded just generally about the mobile gaming space. I had missed the casino games, right, where people would play virtual slot machines and buy virtual chips and virtual gold, virtual coins with zero chance of ever getting anything out of them, right? That really blew my mind. I started my first company at 19, so I really didn't know what I was doing. And at 24, I was arrogant enough to kind of think I'd learned something. And then I spent another 8 years actually learning shit. But it's very interesting because I came back to mobile gaming at Beyond Games to work with the Beyond Games team, and that's where I ultimately met my co-founder Steven and many of our team members that we have today. And one of the reasons I came back was because of the genre that they were working in, which is Forex strategy, mobile MMOs, right? And in those mobile MMOs, the monetization is a bit different. The monetization is much more based around players kind of competing, right? And to a certain extent, smashing the shit out of each other. But the thing that I learned very quickly is a lot of our players were coming in every single day because they enjoyed chatting with their guildmates, they enjoyed strategizing with their guildmates against other guilds, competing in the events, and it was way more of a social network that had a game loop at its core, where like Candy Crush and AFK Arena and even things like Summoner's War or Genshin Impact, these really big games aren't necessarily social networks, right? They're mostly PvE experiences that, again, are very tightly controlled and designed to try to monetize players as much as possible. So now, pivoting out of mobile free-to-play, one of the things that's really interesting about this space is every single player that connects a wallet, has the assets to play, has already spent money to join the game, right? And at the end of the day, I've said this many times, you are never going to have a system in which everybody puts $1 in and gets $1.10 out. It's impossible. It doesn't work. I think everybody here understands that. I would hesitate to say that most of the players that are here to be extractive. It is actually very, very hard to be extractive in our game. And you can just see this with the net source and sinks. People who are very economically strategic have certainly been able to get more tokens out of the game than they put in. And I mention tokens because I come back to the arcade model of things. You know, in an arcade game, you used to go in, you'd put coins into the arcade machine and you'd play, and you'd level up, or I mean, you'd climb the leaderboard, right? And the really interesting thing about arcades is, like, if you were very, very high skill in Galaga, you were probably and potentially going to get to the top of the leaderboard. But I could be lower skill and spend a lot more, quarters and ultimately, potentially get to the top of the leaderboard. I find that very kind of interesting. And I've started to see play and earn, play to own, whatever the hell you want to call this space. I'm so sick and tired of the different terminology behind it. I think what's important is in the Web3 gaming world, players have tangible, real ownership of the assets that they purchase in the game. Those assets gate their ability to come in and sit down at the arcade machine and play. And when they do sit down at the arcade machine, sometimes they're going to get more tokens out one day than they put in. Other days, that's not going to be the case. And it's very important that that ratio of tokens out versus tokens in is on some mixture of RNG and skill. I don't think it should be ever pure RNG per se. I want it to very much have to filter through some form of skill. And the RMP marketplace at the center of our game really does give that. Players who are looking at progression curves, who are looking at resources and materials that players are going to need. I think a lot of you are not necessarily prepared for an influx of new players who are going to need certain materials and commodities, right, which are currently going down in overall balance across the board, right? So that's going to be very interesting. The people who are sitting on some of those lower tier materials potentially are going to have this opportunity to sell them against the RMP and kind of go in and out. Until recently, the RMP, not just the RMP, but the net source sink of RBW was always net into the game, right, into the treasury, until we launched quests. With quests, the test became, are people going to just take the excess RBW and dump it? And this is another point against the idea that everyone here is sitting and just looking to extract, right? RBW would have absolutely collapsed had everybody just completely started dumping the delta in source. And that hasn't happened. And like I mentioned earlier today, we just hit another all-time high for RBW staked. So it really indicates to me that there are players that our current set of players are, really thinking long-term about what's possible with this IP. And again, I would really push back on the idea that the majority of people are being extractive. I guess I'll close out. They mentioned the battle loops. The battle loops help with sustainability because there's the net inflow, that 10% rake that goes into the treasury in terms of RBW and potentially UNIM. You have the additional economic depth of the commodities, things like potions and jousting and stuff, which will need to get produced. And so the individual that asked this question is absolutely correct in that the battle loops themselves will help us balance things. Over time, the farm sim, as I've mentioned many, many times, is going to trend more and more towards a 4X light game and a game with risk and reward. This is things like the Shadowcorn raids, which is Act 3 in the long Shadowcorn kind of roadmap after Act 2 being the War in the Dark Forest. Of course, we have Throwing Shade now, which is really a preparatory event for the War in the Dark Forest come next year. And so over time, that is how we continue to make sure the farm sim is economically sustainable, because you cannot just have an infinite progression game where the players who got in early and progressed the most are just going to dump against every single new player who's showing up. And so that's something that's pretty important to understand. We will likely make the risk reward opt-in for players who don't necessarily want to participate in that. But if you are looking to be competitive, if you are looking for ROI in those things, I'm going to put it behind as many layers of RNG and skill as possible. Because again, you cannot have a system in which everybody is producing more than they're putting in. I would also just claim that most of the retention that we've seen to date, there are people who genuinely enjoy this game and enjoy this experience, and I've had them reach out to me. The people looking to progress the quickest are potentially having to spend more than they're putting in right now, because that's literally how we kind of set it up. So we have so few questions today, I feel like I'm ranting even more than usual.
No, we love it.
Double down on questions like this, because it's important that the community kind of understands what the thesis is and how we're looking at things. I really question any game in the space that's like, hey, we just have a MOBA battle loop or just an FPS battle loop. Those kind of games are going to really struggle to find sustainable economic models. Unless everybody just suddenly accepts, okay, we're going to buy NFTs in this game and we're going to play it for 18 months and then the next game's going to come out and all those NFTs are going to go to zero, right? I don't think anybody wants that in the space, but I see very, very, very few developers in the space who are raising a hand and saying, hey, here is our idea for how we create not just a game, but an economic network that is sustainable. That is the entire point of what we're building. It is, as I've said before and shared in my slide decks and stuff, again, it's much, much, much more than, just building a game loop. We're trying to build an economy around this community-owned IP.
All right, thank you so much. I mean, I think I speak for the rest of the community when I say that these smaller, cozier town halls are pretty great, and we love it when you talk at length about things like this. I'm going to read off the second question from Bias, and then I'll move to a spoken question. So another question he has is, how does the Great Corn Drop mitigate being mistaken for scam drops? I personally seem to be getting more and more scam drops to my wallets.
Can you say that again, Sparkly? I guess I didn't really get the question.
How does the Great Corn Drop mitigate being mistaken for a scam drop? They personally...
Yep. Yes. Great question. So a couple of advantages that we have is first, we have verified OpenSea contracts, so these are not going to go in the hidden folder by default. In addition, the way we're kind of writing out the description and the link to the site itself, like you're coming into the Crypto Unicorn site, it'll literally be airdrop.cryptounicorns.fun. So anyone with like concerns or questions potentially, there's going to be links to our Discord and things of that nature. And then across the influencer campaigns that we're running, obviously Bryce is live. We have 2 more coming. I need to catch up with Brian on that today. That was actually supposed to happen by the end of this month, but now it is, of course, December, so I would expect them to be coming online. They're going to be talking about the Great Corn Drop, right? So you have these simultaneous awareness campaigns being driven by the influencers that we've kind of hired, and I really see that as the value that they can bring, is making it pretty clear to people that, hey, this is a trusted thing, right? When we did the RBW airdrop earlier in the year, the community airdrop, where we effectively airdropped badges that had denominations of RBW and you came to claim them, we had something like a 92% claim rate, right? So, again, it really should be pretty sweet. You're also not approving our contract to spend any of your tokens, right? You're simply claiming tokens from our contract. So even from the perspective of someone that might be rightfully wary of getting something like this. Again, I think we're not asking for weird approvals. We tried to avoid the kind of things that would clearly indicate a potential scam. And then it's going to be really important that these awareness campaigns are reaching the right people. But given we know we're targeting, let's say, Sunflower's community, let's say Sandbox's community, like obviously these influencers can kind of make it clear that there are airdrops ongoing. My expectation is that there's going to be a lot of new people who show up in Discord with questions. We need to be very helpful to those people and reinforce, hey, this is a legit thing and, we're welcome, right? So a couple of things that are planned on that front. I mean, the reality is again, I'm always coming from the bias of free to play. And in free to play, if I'm showing an ad on Facebook, my click-through rate is usually under 2%. So that's literally of 98% of people keep scrolling, right? Keep scrolling the feed, 2% will click. That's if you're lucky. That usually then declines rather drastically and you hit ad fatigue and you have to rotate out a new ad, right? So if I can airdrop a badge, which again is free, effectively free, to people and get a claim rate of 10%, I'm beating, the click-through rate of mobile free-to-play by 5x, right? So again, we had I think it was 91% airdrop claim rate. Yes, that was during the bull. That was to people who were aware of crypto unicorns, so I don't expect to hit that kind of claim rate on these badges. But I do expect to do a pretty decent claim rate on these things.
All right, thank you so much. Also, additionally, for the first part of the Great Corn Drop, which is the Golden Cohort campaign, we've been very intentional with how we've decided to drop this. This is actually in-game rewards, so it's not something that can be mistaken for a scam drop. And we've made sure to select people who have been active on Discord and have made friends in our Discord, so you can inform them organically. You can just message your friend and be like, hey, you have a prize waiting for you. Log in. We miss you. And we just feel like it's better that way, that, it's your friend that's asking you to come back instead of some sort of marketing campaign. So I hope that you guys appreciate it. Okay, next up we have Jack. Please come on over. Hey. Oh, I think you're muted right now. Can you unmute, please? Hey.
Okay, now hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, hello. A while ago, I was asking about making filters sticky across the account. Filters, I mean unicorn filters. Is there any chance to implement that? So you don't have to actually click the filters again and again when you switch to one farm to another and to the workshop and to every building, basically.
Yep, that is in progress and will be shipped with the winter update this December. So, yep, same page. That was top of my list and certainly needs to be persisted across all menus. And then we're fixing inventory where, if you have a bunch of unicorns that are deployed and stuff, we're showing the more, the non-deployed ones at the top. And so there's going to be some nice UX wins with this update for sure, including the one you just mentioned.
Nice one. And can you do the same improvement? Well, kind of the same improvement about the seeds showing up like the unicorns do based on what land you are on. I mean, if you are on heartland, show the heart seed on top of the other seeds. It would be a big improvement in selecting and planting.
What about plain seeds? What about on Mythic Land? What about on Wonderland, right? That one, we keep getting off-the-cuff suggestions that I don't feel accommodate for every possible scenario. What about rope? Where do I put rope seed bags? Where do I put seed bags? And so I agree that the farm UX needs an improvement. I have directed the I've said this before, like jousting was coming up. We absolutely had to get out ahead and get the UX and the UI for jousting done. As you guys see that, I think you're going to go, oh, wow, like that's what not being rushed and building a game in, less than 9 months looks like from a UI UX perspective. I'm very, very happy with where jousting landed. Now that team, the product team, has pivoted back towards improving the farm UX itself, and I want to do a holistic upgrade of that system. There is this constant tension between how efficient do I make a thing to the point where there's only bots just playing this farm game, right? Versus forcing you to actually put in proof of work to achieve your goals. And I'll sum it up with this, Jujak. In keeping with increasing transparency and getting community buy-in well before we even start working on a feature, after the UX pass on the farm menu and UI is complete, we're going to be previewing it with the community, both the council, the founders channel, and I think the Starcorns channel. And I want feedback against that so that we can hopefully sign off on this and really complete the overarching UX pass that the farm sim has needed. Like we've got all these players that want to click on a plot and see a display of a few seeds based on exactly where you're at, and it's a lot of very detailed work around what is the context of the situation that you're in, the type of land, the type of unicorns, the thing, and then we have to make a decision, which I think is the hardest part, of how much are we making this, how much are we smoothing out this process versus kind of forcing the work. So TLDR, I want a UX pass against the farm menu done. I want it in front of the community. I want community feedback on it, and then I want to build it. Sound good?
Yeah, okay, I see. One last question. Is it possible to do something about the lag in farming on accounts that have a lot of corn population? Because on a very big account with, I don't know, over 150 corns, when you plant, you get about 3 seconds lag after you hit the plant button.
Are you getting lag in the menu system or just on plant?
On plant.
Do you get any lag as you scroll through to select the corn? Okay. So it really just is on the plant action?
Not annoying. On the plant.
This is great. I mean, you and Blackfield have both reported lag. This is actually super helpful because somebody saying there's lag and not telling me explicitly exactly where it is unhelpful. So this is perfect. We do have an engineer that's going to be looking into further optimizing that performance, and I'm actually very happy to hear that it's not in the menu system, that it's just on the plant.
It's not on the actual menu system. It's, for example, if you hit the plant button, in the end, you get 3 second lag. When you recharge, when you feed corns with berries to get energy, you also get the same lag, about 2 seconds plus. So these are the points where this lag appears.
Nope, that's super helpful. My co-founder's in here and listening. I just told him how many corns you have. So it's helpful for us to zero in on and look at optimizing very specifically for those accounts. I think it's incredible that we've got 150 corns on a WebGL build just in and of itself. But no, we'll look into that, Jujak. Thank you for the context around the lag. It's always very helpful to know specifically when it is occurring and details around your account. One more thing, what's your hardware? What are you rocking?
I have an M1 Apple.
Perfect, thank you.
So M1 Apple, M1 Pro actually, with 32 gigabytes of RAM.
I got you beat, I've got 64. But no, that's super helpful. Actually, my co-founder is messaging me right now and just said that they are actively looking into the lag issues for the large corn account holders. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jujak. As part of the CM initiative, actually, after every release, we try our best to gather a couple of gameplay videos from the community so we can forward them to the dev team and so they have some sort of optics on what's going on with gameplay. And we really need accounts with a lot of unicorns. So if you'd like to volunteer, just hit me up. And we would love to get those gameplay videos so that we can improve the experience for y'all. Next up, we have Mahathir. Please come on over. I think it's taking some time for them to get here. Oh, there we go. Hey. Yeah, I think, can you unmute, please? Okay, while we're getting this figured out, Jackie Ace has a suggestion. So for the Golden Cohort event, he's suggesting, how about we work with Capital DAO and Narvel and get the guilds started that are using their platforms by sending starter packs their way. It could be a good and easy lever to increase daily average users. What do you think about that, Aaron?
It's certainly possible. My concern with the guilds right now is they're all struggling, and I still view them as likely the highest potential to extract because they're literally, in the business of generating an ROI. As much as they have tried to shift the messaging around those things, and so. I would feel a lot better if they would purchase the starter bundles for their own scholars if they're really going that route. Now, leveraging them as an acquisition channel, I'm not opposed to. I'm really not. But it's kind of funny. I've yet to have a guild reach out and suggest anything on that front. So, anyone with connections to a guild that thinks we should chat with them, fine. But I believe that, I would rather have something I've been thinking about a lot, which I'd love feedback on. It's we have over 35,000 people kind of still in the Discord, and I recognize that not many of them are daily active, right? It's a much smaller group that come in and check in. But they're still in our Discord, right? And we know how many of them via crypto sign and stuff have assets versus don't. I would much rather start there. I've even been thinking about, for people who are looking for scholarship, what would they do if we just handed them a bundle, right? So there's a lot of ideas there, and I think lower hanging fruit where we can target people who are already somewhat in the funnel, right? They're obviously aware of CU, they've participated at some level. I'd rather start there before we start going and knocking on various guilds' doors, right? With the launch of our delegation feature, too, maybe things change a bit. I do see a lot of new DAO kind of coming on as a result of that. Having it much closer to jousting is I think a really good thing because we'll have another game loop spun up that will be adding kind of economic depth and sustainability to the system, as we likely have a lot of new people onboarding into the farm sim. So yeah, there's a little bit of concern there. I think with future features like tribes, which is really going to bring a lot of cool social and kind of cooperative features, as well as this whole kind of tribe economy, which will be kind of fun. That I see as being a really good time to start to try to recruit the guilds in, because we'll be recruiting them into a system that is by default, I think, even more sustainable than what we have today.
Hi guys, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Hey.
Oh, sorry, my mic was giving me problems just now. So, hi Aaron. I think you are aware that I've contacted the guys at Real Vision, and they are interested in interviewing both of us because I belongs to the Real Vision DAO, and due to that, they are okay to feature you on the channel to talk about Web3 games and crypto unicorns. Are you down on that?
100%. I was gonna message on Twitter, but do you mind just kind of scheduling it? We can do it this at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. on next Wednesday, because I'd rather not move the town hall on Thursdays, but I'm down to do it 7 or 8 a.m. on Wednesday next week.
Sure, sure. Because initially they were telling me that they would prefer to do a Twitter space, but I gave Elaine, which is the host, a pair of unicorn and a plot of land, and now she decided that we should do a video. So yeah, so I'll probably let you know when we should be good in for that live stream.
Sounds fantastic. And this is a perfect example of what I need every single person out here doing is find somebody that would be willing to try, and let's get them one of these great corn drop bundles. So I appreciate that you did that out of your own pocket. That's fantastic. I want to give us a path and a mechanism by which we can all kind of do this. If we all bring 3 people in, we've tripled Dow, right? So like there's a real opportunity here, especially if you're willing to kind of help somebody over their early humps and get them kind of strategically into the game and thinking about it and stuff. And so we'll want to make sure that she gets included in the onboarding program as well, so she's got an opportunity to kind of compete for rewards and things. Okay?
Thank you very much.
So feel free to DM me to coordinate on that next week. But yeah, very excited. Thank you for putting it forward and pushing on, making it happen.
Yeah, same. Likewise.
Thank you so much, Mahathir. For other people who are interested in getting a starter bundle for their friends, we are looking into that. So if you have any ideas, feel free to tag me and let's talk about it. Time check, we have 3 minutes until the end of the hour. Maybe we can do 1-2 more questions. So what seems to be a popular question is, where are we at with jousting? Do we have any leaks to share or some gameplay?
Well, you have the gameplay trailer, so I would refer to that. I caught a snippet of the engineering development build yesterday that is getting pretty much spot on with that gameplay trailer. The gameplay trailer was captured in Unity, so it represents the bar that we are shooting for. And so I'm very happy with that progress, and I think it's going to be a very exciting January, and I'll leave it at that. Oh, I do have one more thing, actually. So the CGI trailer is done. It looks pretty good. It's a nice, not pretty good, it looks great. And it's kind of a fun little continuation of the loose narrative that was developed in the first one. I think, here's kind of my plans. So I'm going to do another Delphi podcast this month with Pierce. Initially, he'd wanted to do it around jousting, and I kind of asked him if he'd do 2 podcasts, one in December and one in January. For those of you who were here, the last Delphi podcast was a really nice inflection point for us in the lead into the Dark Forest Act 1. The first podcast, I really want to focus on all of the key industry firsts that we have achieved this year. Things like the Rainbow Token Marketplace being the first off-chain AMM system that sits at the center of our economy and helps us, naturally maintain supply and demand balance. Things like the land vending machine, another first. Like, here's a way for the Treasury to continue to get primary revenue and inflows over time as new land gets minted. We literally have a system where the mint of new land can be modulated, to the supply. I want to talk about the ship of quests, how we've balanced Unim sync and source, which has been phenomenal. Anyone looking at that post the ship of quest, that's a really phenomenal achievement to have it flatline like that. To look at RBW staking. And so I'm really trying to work with Pierce for the December one to bundle and package a lot of our key wins. I think I have struggled to communicate this outwardly in a way that's consumable for the average individual. And so I'm really trying to work on synthesizing this out into bits, and we're going to be demoing a bunch of the gameplay. And the hope there is a lot of people that maybe took a look when we were struggling with issues or kind of early dismissed us given what we launched with, which was an MVP farm sim. They'll go, oh wow, they've really added a lot, and kind of rejoin. And then so that'll be December. The focus on kind of like a year in review, everything that we've achieved, talking about some of the good, bad, and ugly, and then obviously reinforcing how far we've come. And then in January, we're going to do the Delphi podcast again, very specific to jousting, and run kind of a live tournament with like Pierce and I entering our corns coupled with other team members, and we'll kind of play out a jousting match and then talk about what's left kind of on the roadmap for Q1 and maybe as far as into Q2 of next year. So I'm kind of looking for like a 1-2 punch with the Delphi crew to get content out there in a way that's really easily consumable for people, because I think we continue to fly under the radar for some weird reason, and it is time to take the covers off. We're no longer afraid, given some of the issues and stuff that plagued us in the past. Now that those are gone, we need growth. I want to show people what happens when a real, incredibly deep and broad economy spins up in this space versus these very shallow economies that have hyperinflated and ultimately collapsed. Like, it is time. And so pushing on things like the podcast, doing the video next week, like anyone that has a speaking opportunity that they think would be valuable, I'm more than happy to go or put another team member in place to get out there and evangelize. Again, it is time to grow. We are ready for it. And I'm, putting pretty significant marketing resources behind this. So let's not miss this chance to reposition ourselves as the top game in the space and grow and show that we really can chart a path to sustainability here.
All right, and that is the end of the hour. Thank you so much for your time, Aron. I actually appreciate these kinds of town halls a lot. Like, with lesser audience and lesser questions, there's just more time to focus on each of them one by one, and we really get to hear your like deep thoughts on it. So thank you so much. That's the last question. So thank you to everybody also for showing up to the town hall. Any questions in the Town Hall 25 thread will be answered by me later on. No worries. We'll see you next week for the weekly Town Hall number 26. The usual time starting now, that would be 8 a.m. PST. This is to make time for the Shadowcorns Throwing Shade stream. We'll be posting a recording of this town hall on our socials if you would like to give it a re-listen. Don't forget to share this with your friends and a fellow unicorn fam who couldn't make it. And if you have more burning questions, feel free to reach out in our support channels, the Mod Support channel and the Ask the Devs channel. This has been Sparkly Unicorn. Good morning, good night, and see you in-game on Discord and in the forums, Unicorn fam. And I guess this time on Twitch too. Yo, where did Aron go? My guy? I guess his internet has been acting up, yeah. It's okay, I'll ooh-woo for him. Ooh-woo. Can we do a Christmas corn drive where players donate corns for a land banner? The corns will go towards the great airdrop for new players. I know many will do this. This is a great idea. Can you put this up in suggestions, please? Thank you. We got rugged. Just thank you so much, everybody, for making time and being here. I hope y'all are also taking the time to watch the Shadowcorn Throwing Shade stream. We have that from Sunday to Friday, I believe, 7 a.m. PST. And that's where we reveal which door is going to be chosen for the Shadow Corns. And if you don't have a Shadow Corn, or if your Shadow Corn didn't make it, you can also participate in the Uniguilds events and get a GP reward for every door you pick correctly. We're going to be releasing the leaderboard for that as well. Is there anything else I want to say? Man, it's so weird not having anybody else to talk to. But he just went wild and earlier, the Christmas party, so he couldn't come. I'm done talking to myself. Thank you so much, Unicorn Pam. Uvu.